Oh, okay, there.
That impacted the 2016 election, but Aaron is still discharged as falsifying business records, and usually that is the
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Willie, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. At least you can hear me tonight. That's great.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Okay.
So we have our quorum, so we can start, Karen, whenever you're ready.
Okay, is the agenda up on the screen?
No, but that's all right.
Okay, well,
They say that they're going to be calling, they want to call.
I'm gonna share the screen here.
Now, we've heard plenty from Stormy Daniels, but what do they think she'll be able to say specifically to help rise these?
Okay, not sure what's happening here. Okay, here we go.
Fire.
Welcome, everyone, to the April 4th, 2023.
Elected, was she doing this because she felt that her
2023.
time period? Who reached out
And thank you. Could we mute, please? That would be good if you could.
about how
All right. So welcome, everyone, to the first meeting of the CPA applicants for 2023. And before we get started, I want to just read this. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic as it relates to the open meeting law, the Springfield Community Preservation Committee will continue to meet remotely until further notice. Meetings are held at 6 p.m. on the first Tuesday of the month. The meetings and agendas for all meetings are available on the city portal of the city website. Meetings are live and recorded for viewing later on our Facebook page, facebook.com Springfield Community Preservation Committee. Public comments are welcome, and you can email them to cpc@springfieldcityhall.com or mail them to 36 Court Street, Springfield, Mass. 01103. You see in front of you the order of the presentations. I think we'll probably keep that order. And my name is Karen Lee. I'm the committee preservation consultant, administrative consultant, and Bob McCarroll is our chair. And I will turn it over to him to introduce the committee and welcome. Thank you for attending.
Oh, well, thank you, Karen, and welcome everyone as we begin the process of the 2023 applications. As in any year, we have requests for far more money than we have to recommend to the City Council. We will be meeting with approximately a third of the applicants tonight, another third in 2 weeks, and another third at the beginning of May, and then we will start our deliberations and send our recommendations to City Council, although that may not happen until September. Tonight at the meeting, we have Gloria DiFilippo, who represents the Planning Board, Clinton Harris, representing the Park Commission, Willie Thomas, the Housing Authority, Lamar Cook, one of our neighborhood representatives, Judy Kroll, the Historical Commission representative. We may have one or two other members joining us. I represent the Springfield Preservation Trust. We currently have an empty seat, and Lamar Cook, who has served 2 full 3-year terms, will be revolving off at the end of this month. And the City Council President Jesse Letterman has appointed the replacements who will be sworn in at the end of the month, but I've invited them to be present as guests, not voting people, but guests at this meeting, and that's Yolanda Cancel and Stephen Bosworth. So with that being said, we're going to start the presentations. You have 5 minutes. You will be timed. Gloria is the timer. She will give you the 2-minute warning, and then she will give you the time's up warning. Please finish the sentence you're on, and then we will ask questions. There may be no questions. There could be 20 questions. Please address only the questions and not use it as a segue to talk about the things that you forgot to talk about in your 5-minute presentation. So with that being said, we will start with the East Springfield proposal And I guess it's Kathy. Are you going to be the speaker, or take it away, Kathy? Now unmute yourself, though. You're still muted.
Okay. I'm Marie Koski and I'll be speaking.
Okay.
And we are going to do a screen share here, hopefully. Okay. Can you see that? Do you see that?
No.
All right,
Okay.
well,
No.
we'll try again. Karen, I will take your guidance. I thought I followed your guidance, but we will keep working at it. And
Or should I just?
So on the bottom of the screen where it says share screen,
yep,
you should look for the document and click it on.
so I hit share screen first.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the document's fine to hit first. So you bring the document up and then hit share screen.
Okay,
No, we're share screen.
share screen went away. Okay, well, sorry for the craziness here.
Make it a little smaller.
I'm sorry.
Not that
That's,
small, but
I'm sorry. You want to just go?
okay.
And I'll
I'm
see
just
if I
gonna
can
go
get
ahead
this.
and go.
If you want to email it to me, I can.
I
get it up
can,
for
I
you.
mean, I do have the, some of the documents.
Okay.
Well, they're
if-
not, yeah.
All right.
I can put up the master plan if you want, and is
If you'd
that
like to put up the master plan, that would be great. Thank you.
awesome?
Should I start?
Yep,
Shall I
go ahead,
start?
Go ahead. Sorry.
East Springfield's project is for enhancements to Angelina Park. These include a 4-foot wide asphalt pathway that connects Curve Street entrance to the Page Boulevard entrance, leading directly to the existing play area and basketball court. We will add 3 new play structures: the Lunar Burst, a climbing structure for children of all ages, an Oodle swing, which can seat up to 4 children, and an Omni spinner, which is accessible to children who are physically challenged, as well as being able to accommodate children and adults. We feel the park needs additional picnic tables and have chosen to add 2 wheelchair accessible picnic tables. The request for this project supports our strong commitment to strengthening neighborhood parks, and it supports the need for children to get outdoors and have active playtime. The intention is to create a safe, comfortable, creative, and accessible play area that will complement the amenities already existing in this park. What I forgot to mention was, among the existing play structures is a swing set with 4 swings. 2 of the swings will be removed and replaced with a toddler seat and with a
Accessible, all ability
all
accessible. swing.
accessible swing. And also there's another structure there that we will add new panels to that are
Sensory panels.
sensory panels. And we're not sure what we're going to choose for the 2 sensory panels. We were thinking of having children in the neighborhood make some recommendations. That's it.
And I do know that in the packets to the committee members, there are the variety of pictures for all of the items that would not pull up on our screen. So we appreciate you taking a look at those. We know that we can bring this project in for the $250,000 that we're requesting. And the neighborhood has put on their priority list that this park be have amenities increase. So thank you very much. If there are questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. Do any committee people have questions? So I see Yolanda, you have your hand up. All right.
Bob,
So
Bob,
yeah. Yes.
let's go. Yeah. I first of all, I would like to commend the neighborhood council for an excellent packet. I enjoyed reading it. It was clear, concise, and you had pictures of what you wanted to do. I didn't have to imagine it. And finally, I love, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I love the fact that you have a lot of accessible items, tables and swings and everything else. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, any other committee members have questions? So if not, I guess I've got a couple of questions. It's probably more to the park department that crafted the budget. So of the 4 playground proposals that are coming to us, this is the only one that I saw in the budget, sedimentation and erosion control. So I guess my question is how come this one has it and others which are near that I didn't see it in others?
This may be due to the path there, Bob, and it's definitely something we can clarify with our designer to make sure we didn't miss it in any other budgets. But typically sedimentation and erosion control is a standard part of a construction project. So we can definitely revisit and make sure it hasn't been left out.
Okay. And just a refresher for me, on the bottom of every budget is an amount for survey, design, engineering, and construction supervision. Is that the GZA fee? That's fee that you give to your landscape consultants?
Correct. That's the allowance for the design portion of the budget, which cannot exceed the 10% of an overall project budget. And not necessarily to GZA, but to whatever designer is chosen, and it would include the design development, the construction documents, any permitting that's involved in the project. Projects that are over an acre are required to do a stormwater prevention pollution plan, things of that nature, or if it's in a wetland. So that design line there covers those aspects of the project that you would need to do before you can start construction.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I do want to recognize committee member Rhonda Sherrill, who has arrived. Hi, Rhonda. So Lamar, I see your hand up.
Yes, I have a quick question, and maybe this is actually a statement. So over the last 6 years, every parks project has had the same dollar amount, regardless of what we're adding. And I'm wondering, with the projects, how close have they come to this number, and what are we typically giving back? It's just, I find it odd that every project costs the same amount, whether you're adding a basketball court, park benches, but whatever it was, it's the same price for everything.
Yep, we can certainly give you an accounting of all the projects. I think we design each project to fit the allowable budget that the CPA offers per grant year. And we take pride in looking at a project and what can happen within that amount of money for each site individually. So that is probably why you're seeing a budget request of $250,000 each time, because that's the maximum amount allotted per application.
But I think also, if you go back and look at those amounts, that there are varying amounts. I mean, it's not, we're talking about 125 based on, a basketball court. We're talking 77 based on, not putting anything in, just make sure that it's historically accurate. So I do think that there's some varying amounts there. And when it includes a master plan or something that is being designed, we typically like to make sure that we have all of our costs covered.
And I guess I just would add that we have indeed on some of the completed projects, the park department has turned back in some money because they did the project under budget. Okay, so unless there are other questions, we will move on to the next presentation, which is the Myrtle Street Playground. And Zeta, are you presenting? Thank you, Kathy.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for having us here. We're not going to be as concise and as picturesque as the East Springfield Neighborhood Council, I'm afraid, unless the Parks Department did a miracle and did some work on it. But we just want to enhance Myrtle Street Park as it is now. We have a waterscape there. We have some slides and some swings. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to put in some exercise equipment as well as some game tables, where we have chess in the parks, as everyone knows. And we want to maybe put some chess tables and some other kind of tables so people can come to the park and play dominoes or play backgammon or play chess. So that's basically what our proposal is, and the Parks Department is going to be able to help us. I did want to comment on Angelina Park. I think that's an amazing project. I'm excited about that because my granddaughter loves going to that park, and I think she's going to really love the new amenities that you guys are putting up there. So I think that's my presentation. Laura, is there anything you want to add? Oh, Laura has pictures, yay. Thank you.
So Laura, this is a supplement to what's in the application, correct? Because I didn't find this map in my application packet. Laura, are you there, or can Chris answer that?
I think that was in the application. We sent it with the package, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't see one in my packet either.
Oh, sorry, my computer froze. For a
Oh,
minute.
sorry.
Yep, we can definitely share this with you. I thought it was included in the packet. There should be a schematic plan and then a budget as well. And we can make sure we have that tomorrow.
Sure. In the packet that I got, unless there was a collation issue, there is indeed sort of an aerial photograph of the existing park, and there is the budget, but there is not this stylistic showing us where the walking path will be, showing us where the exercise equipment is. So that would be helpful for you to send us, and then Karen can distribute it. I guess the other question I have is, can you indicate on this where the community garden is? Because part of your request is a water faucet for the community garden.
Yes, and Zeta, if it's all right with you, I'd be happy to send this master plan out to the committee tomorrow morning.
Yes,
on your behalf.
be great. Thank you. Yes.
Sure. Bob, and then correct me again, Zeta, if I'm wrong, the community garden is at the front of the Myrtle Street building facing the Main Street. So it's on the plan, it's this little blue spigot. And that's where the community garden is, and it's the closest to the utilities. So it makes sense to put the spigot in that area.
Okay. Any questions from committee people?
I have a question, Bob. I'd like to see pictures of the proposed card tables and the exercise equipment.
Yep.
Sure, we can get that to you. Zeta,
Great.
if we could, if you and I could speak as well, we can follow up with that.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess the other question that I have is regarding the water spigot. Who controls the water spigot?
So the Indian Citizens Council has the community garden, and we're the ones that basically control it. We have a water rain barrel there, and what we would probably do is hopefully fill up the rain barrel and turn the water off, because we don't want to have it on all the time like that, and use it that way to water the garden.
There's also a key for those spigots, so you can't just turn them on. There's a specialized key.
Okay, so no one can pull up on Main Street at 10 o'clock at night, bring out their own hose, hook it up, and wash their car using that spigot. Okay.
No.
And obviously someone from the council will be winterizing it in November or October and turning it back on. Okay.
That would be the park department that would do that, Bob. It would be part of the irrigation and splash pad closeout for the winterization. Yep.
Yeah. And sort of just a generic question, several of these parks are proposing pathways. Are they all, are they all the same? Because I'm thinking as I was reading through them, some of them are for a 5-foot wide path, and some of them are a 4-foot wide path. Is there a reason why there's a difference in width of the paths?
Yes, it will depend on the site, and you're probably thinking ahead to Treetop. Treetop's proposed path is a little bit smaller just due to the topography of the site as well as the wetland and the soccer field that are there. And there's a little bit more room at Myrtle Street here to have a slightly wider path at 5 feet.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, any questions from committee members? All right. So, Laura, you're going to email us that design map as well as some photos of the various exercise equipment and the play tables.
Yes, we will follow up with that information as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. All right. So next up is the proposal from the Old Hill Council regarding a study to connect the McKnight Rail Trail to the rail trails that's being proposed south of Watershops Pond. And Liz, are you speaking on that, or is someone from the
Yes.
park department?
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
I have worked with Awilda Sanchez in Old Hill Neighborhood Council. She earlier tonight, she was at a different Zoom meeting, and so I told her I would attend. So this path would be from the north end of the railroad trestle. And it would come through part of Springfield College and then through the new Samuel Bowles Park, and then somehow or another get itself around the Indian Motorcycle Building. Some of us are aware of the path of the Highland Division rail line, and it went from Connecticut up into East Longmeadow into Springfield. It passed a lot of property that had manufacturing on it, and it came through into Springfield. It crossed Watershops Pond. It has this wonderful railroad trestle, and then onto Springfield College campus, and it went through the Indian Motorcycle Building. The city of Springfield purchased part of that rail line, that abandoned rail line, for the water and sewer department. So that's no longer available. And obviously the Indian Motorcycle Building property is no longer available. So that's why it has to go around the Indian Motorcycle Building, crossing over Wilbraham Road and State Street on the other side, and following down Hayden Avenue. The McKnight Trail is planned to be right behind Rebecca Johnson School. So since East Forest Park is working on their section of the abandoned rail line, and McKnight has worked on their section, it makes sense to allow people who want to be on these hiking, biking trails to get from that railroad trestle over to the McKnight Trail. Hence the application that we have submitted on behalf of Old Hill Neighborhood Council.
2 minutes, Liz.
I'm done.
Okay.
All right. I have a couple of questions, it's not clear in the application to me as to who's actually overseeing the study. Is it the Old Hill Council? Is it the Park Department? Is it the DPW? Who's getting the money and hiring the consultant?
That's a great question.
That is a great question, Liz. I can take this one if you'd like.
Please do.
Bob, I believe the previous studies that were financed by the CPA committee, they came to the park department to do the initial study. And then when we, if it moves forward after that into like a trails grant, then it turns over to the DPW, and the park department is happy to help support this project and oversee the study.
Okay, so if recommended, it would be that the Parks Department is the recipient of the funds. Okay.
Correct, and then we would work with the DPW as well when we as needed for the study.
All right. Perhaps another question that maybe the Parks Department can better answer is, can you just give us a brief update as to where the McKnight Trail is in its evolution and where the East Forest Park Trail is in its evolution?
Okay, sure, and I can do my best. Again, both of those projects right now are being administered by the DPW. My understanding is for the Highland Rail Trail portion that they have, because of the study that was completed and the conceptual designs that were done through the CPA study, they were able to apply for a Mass Trails grant to move forward with doing more of the design development and construction documents to actually construct the trail. So that's my understanding on that. And I believe that project is either underway or will be starting soon. And I'd be happy to reach out to Andy Carr at DPW for more of an update and get back to you in an email to the committee. And the same for the McKnight Trail. Liz might have a little bit more info than I do on that one, but my understanding is that it's also with DPW and they're finalizing the construction documents, and construction would be the next phase.
Okay.
That's what she says.
Yep.
Thanks, Liz.
I guess at least for me, it would be helpful to sort of have someone who's in the know say, and we're going out to bid on such and such section by a ballpark date, and do that for the two sections that are further along than this one.
Sure. We'll get an updated
Okay.
schedule from DPW and share that with you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So do any other committee members or our guest committee members have any questions on this? No. Okay. Well, thank you so much. So moving on to the next one, which is Treetop Park. I have my applications in proper order. And I think the Park Department is making this presentation because Outer Belt has its meetings tonight.
Yes, that's correct. Outer Belt, they were unable to attend just to their conflicting meeting, and they asked us to speak on the project on their behalf. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, great. So Treetop Park, for those of you who are unfamiliar with its location, is off of Allen Street. If you're going between the intersection of Sumner and Allen and Abbott Streets up that way, and before you get to the Bradley Road intersection, down on Corcoran Boulevard, if you follow that all the way down to the end, there is a park there called Treetop Park. It is very well used by the neighborhood, and it's represented by the Old Hill Neighborhood Council. And they came to the Park Department requesting a walking path at this location. There's many neighborhood residents that use the park as a destination on their daily walks. But once they get to the parking lot, they kind of have to turn around. So they're interested in adding a walking path around the perimeter of the park. There is a playground that is there that was put in about 10 years ago. And they're looking to add an additional play unit of a a swing set with the variety of swings, the traditional swings, the toddler swings, and also an accessible swing. And then they're also interested in exploring the possibility of some type of security light at the site, whether that be a solar light or a utility light. They're interested in having that there. And that's kind of like the main tenet of the application, is really just to help provide extra amenities at this park for the neighborhood. But also Treetop Park is used heavily for youth soccer during the the soccer season, as well as soccer camps. So the addition of a walking path would help support folks that are coming to the games that can walk around the park while they're there, if they're waiting for their child's practice or things like that, but also to serve the neighborhood as well. So that's the bird's eye view of the project, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay. So I have a few. What is the adjust gate and fence at entrance? Does this mean that the whole play field is fenced from what appears to be the parking area, and there's only, well, what is that?
Yes, there's an existing fence around the soccer fields to kind of help contain that area, and the walking path will be just inside that fence, and we will have to make some adjustments to the entrance closest to the parking lot there, just to the type of gate that's allowed. So it's not a locked fence. It's just to help, keep soccer balls in the playing area.
Yeah, and so help me with this. Is the proposed walking trail is on the inside of that fenced area?
Yes, that's correct. And this is why it's a little narrower than what we proposed at Myrtle Street. The topography, you can't tell so much from this picture, but there is a steep grade outside the fence area. And we wanted to make sure that we could keep the path accessible to people of all abilities. So we had to propose to put it inside the fence.
Oh, okay. The other question I have is the narrative talks about a stone dust path, but the budget talks about a bituminous concrete path. Which is
okay, it is going to be a stone dust. I apologize, I missed that edit. It is a proposed stone dust path, not a paved path.
Okay.
And I can update that and send it to you, Bob.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's necessary. We'll just cross out where it says stone dust and put in.
We had a couple draft budgets, and I apologize.
No, not an issue. And please talk to us about the proposed security lighting. I for one am always skeptical. If this were lighting so you could play soccer games at night, that's one thing. That's recreational. Security lighting implies that there's something going on here at night that the neighbors don't want.
Yeah, I got, and again, this is kind of it was kind of a wish list. I think the neighborhood, they wanted to be able to provide some lighting in that area so that maybe people weren't using it at night, because as you all know, parks are closed at night. They're open from dawn to dusk. And I think that, we put it in there because there was the request of the neighborhood, but it's definitely something that could, use further discussion. Is it necessary? Is it just a desire of one or two people? Things like that. It is not to illuminate the field for soccer at night. That would kind of exceed the $250,000 budget. But that's
okay. And I guess lastly, there is irrigation in here. This is to irrigate the soccer field.
Correct. There is irrigation there. The line item in the budget is if there is any irrigation that needs to be repaired or adjusted due to the installation of the path, because we kind of have to work around that as well. So that's an allowance to help fix that through construction.
I see. Oh, okay.
Yep, there's already irrigation at the site. This just will allow us to maintain it through the construction period.
Okay. Do any other committee members have questions?
Yes, Bob.
Okay,
I-
Gloria.
Again, on the swing set, is it the same type of swing set we've seen from Angelina?
It is similar that it has the, I believe, it's a 2-bay swing set, so we'll have at least 4 to 6 swings. And I can double check that number for you and provide images as well.
Okay, and Laura, because we are doing a lot of parks and have been doing a lot of parks,
Mhm.
are we buying from the same company, and do we get some type of a discount because we're buying so much equipment?
Yep, so the city, what we do is we're able to purchase off the state purchase agreement for site amenities and things like that. So we do work with a trusted vendor that provides, contract pricing that's at a discounted rate for municipalities. So yes, we are getting some adjustments there per the state contract. And that
Oh.
follows all procurement laws for the city.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I just have another, let's call it a budget question. There's
Sure.
permitting in the budget. Is that because you have to go to some agency because of wetlands?
Yes, correct. There's permitting that would be involved, and also any disturbance over an acre requires a stormwater prevention pollution plan, and that is a permitted process as well.
Okay. Any other committee members? Laura, if you could take down the screen sharing, because I can't see all of the committee
Oh, sure.
members at this
Sorry about
point.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
No,
welcome.
that's all right. Yeah, but I'm not seeing anyone with questions. So, okay. Well, thank you so much. And we will now move on to the next one, which is the one regarding Alden Street Park.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellen Morehouse. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. I am coming to you live from Lake Massasoit in Springfield. And I'm actually here with a unique twist. So I think so far this evening, we've heard from a series of neighborhood organizations. I'm here representing myself as a Springfield homeowner, a butter, taxpayer. And I'm here before you with a very ambitious plan, a multi-year 3-year program that maxes out the budget. But I want to be very thorough in how I ask for this money, and of course, coordinate with all of the relevant city departments. I'm no stranger to that. So I'm going to lead you up here. I'm going to fly through and share my screen briefly. If I go too fast, please let me know. But I want to sort of balance a scale here, right? In my push for advocacy with sort of how grateful I am to the city for coordinating. So as a result, you may or may not know of the lake drawdown over the last, I'll say 3 years. The city drained the lake to work with GZA, a contractor, to repair the dam at the other end of this man-made body of water. And overall, the project was very successful. The dam is complete, the lake is back. But in general, neighbors were a little frustrated with the city's response or lack thereof to this lake. And so I do want to very gently balance that with, of course, my gratitude, because people like Laura Walsh, Councillor Fenton, and many others have been of tremendous support to this project. So I want to caution my advocacy and my request for funds with, of course, a thank you. But as a result of that, neighbors began to organize, and we formed a public action group called SCANS, Springfield Conservation and Nature Stewardship. It's sort of the neighbors and abutters response to the city's planning or preservation of and future sustainability of Lake Massasoit. So my ambitious project has 3 years to it. The first year is what you see before you, an Alden Street Park renovation, working with Parks Department to pretty much cover everything you've covered this evening: walking paths, picnic tables, a fishing pier. We've sort of modeled this first year off the very successful Venture Pond renovations, which are just down the road, which the city is very familiar with. But I'm sort of also looking ahead to years 2 and 3. So for me, year 2 comes with a real hard look at the infrastructure of preserving the open space in and around Lake Massasoit and understanding what flows into it. And then year 3 for me is about sustainability of this open space. So partnering to study the lake. We want to know what's in the lake. I think my first question to the city was, hey, what's growing out there? And we couldn't really answer that. And so now I've got some questions that we want to work into a long-term study plan. So you'll see a look here I've broken it out by year. The project description, of course, says it will coordinate with all applicable DPW and city parks. But I want to sort of bring your attention here to the memo. So signage, of course, I know might not be CPA's favorite, but on the lake, it's just so needed. And I know it won't stop trash, but there is no signage to speak of whatsoever. So in both English and Spanish, I think both trash and pet waste, there are several sites of conservation. We've identified a list of 6 that I've got on the memo. Of course, these solar compacting trash cans, so animals can't get in. And then this is actually moving us into year 2. It involves working with DPW to label all the drain grates. So
Ellen, 2
Yes, ma'am.
minutes.
Thank you. So we found out about 41 of these that go from street to body of water. And again, won't stop trash, but I think, you know, I myself, when I bought a home here, didn't even know that it drained directly to the lake. It involves an educational program with GZA to identify all of the wildlife, herons. We'll do some signage at several popular sites. There's 4 sites we've identified for these, including Sullivan and Alden Park. And then all along here, I think year 2 for DPW on both Walsh and Stapleton streets, including where there was one recent fatality, all of the concrete pylons are broken. And this goes all the way around. And I've pulled up the GIS map to show that it actually includes a parcel of land that belongs to a church that no one can identify. So all of this actually does not pop on the city land. I live right here, hello. And all of these concrete pylons are broken, continuing up here to the bottom of Wall Street. So much dumping and just sort of a perpetual problem that can't get solved. So I'm calling for DPW to address these concrete pylons and to regularly incorporate this into their trash pickup. So you'll see those, and then we're sort of turning our minds back to the recreation of the Alden Street Pond. I realize this is sort of like a hodgepodge here, but I'm just trying to fly through this. And then in my long term, this isn't in my proposal yet, but Australia is starting to do this. And I actually want to see how I could work with GZA to begin to actually catch the trash then that rolls off of the dam. So what we can't stop at the street makes it into the lake. What we can't stop at the lake will not go into the mill pond or any of the other watersheds. So you'll see year 1, just to rehash us, brings us back to Alden Street, working on this park in front of Springfield College where the arch is. This has to do with our recreation and just cleaning up. There's an area here where a sidewalk doesn't connect, and we're interested in connecting that as well. So let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. So just a housekeeping issue, Ellen.
Yes, sir.
We ask for evidence that you've notified the appropriate neighborhood council that you're submitting a CPA application. And since Alden Street Park is physically within the Upper Hill neighborhood, we want to know that they've been notified. It would be nice if they send a letter of support. Pardon?
I've called both Ward 4 and Ward 5 city councilor. I did think it was in 5, my own ward, Councilor Click Bruce, who did write a letter of support in this package, but it actually, Alden Street is itself the line. And so it is Ward 4. So I've also called Councilor Brown, and he, of course, and Representative Bud Williams were very supportive. As far as the Upper Hill Resident Council, I pulled a phone number and email from the city's website and tried multiple times. The voicemail was full. I couldn't get a hold. And I have reached out to the 16 acres because the lake itself borders, I think, 5 different neighborhoods. And so between Upper Hill, whom I couldn't reach, 16 acres, which is my own civic association, and then East Forest Park, of which Frank Ryan sits on this and is in full support of this lake organization project. Frank Ryan would be here tonight with me if he could. We're 2/3 of the way there, and I would just love to reach the woman from Upper Hill if anyone knows her.
Yeah,
Right.
Ellen, we can help you facilitate that. Too.
Yeah, and my suggestion is this should be a formal either email or letter that goes to the neighborhood, not a phone call that can't be documented. So, okay. We don't necessarily need to know that they got it. We need to know that you mailed it to the Upper Hill Council at their at their address. There could be neighborhood councils that are inactive or don't care and therefore don't respond. But one of our things is we don't want to be talking regarding a project that's within a neighborhood boundary and then find the neighborhood isn't aware
Itself
of it.
is in opposition. Okay,
Yeah.
totally.
So if you can sometime in the next couple of weeks send to them, just say, this is what I'm thinking of doing. I'd like your support, but I wanted to let you know, and then give us a copy of that letter.
I would be happy to. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess I have a couple of questions, and then we'll see if other committee member. In your budget, you talk about DPW serving the trash at some point. Who's serving it? If we recommend Alden Street Park with the trash receptacle going there, who's servicing that? Do you have DPW or Park Department already agreeing to
Yes.
pick it up?
I am glad to say yes. And in fact, it's been, I think, a 3 or 4 year struggle now that we've been working with DPW, including one of the promontories by my own house. We called them for trash. They came out and started a little round metal trash barrel. It got stolen. They did it again. It got stolen. So DPW has been responsive, but now we're actually calling for something that can't be lifted, whether they got to stand it there or not. And then it actually got forgotten about. So I'm really pushing diligently to then incorporate the new 5 sites of trash that we add into DPW's regular route pickup. It's not enough just me a trash barrel.
Ellen, if I could talk to that point as well, Alden Street, this is a park, so it is on the, it will be on the park rotation of trash pickup as well. So.
Great.
Yep.
Great. The other question is regarding the dock, and I forget the answer when I asked this at Venture Pond. Is this a dock that stays there permanently, or is this a dock that has to come out in November and go back in April? And if the latter, who is responsible for doing that? The Park Department?
Yep, again, this would be
Well,
a site that's managed by the Park Department, and some of those questions will come out in the design development of what this site can maintain, and I can get more clarification from the proposed designer as well on that. But my thought would be that it would be a permanent dock or like a rock jetty pier or something of that nature where people can fish from. But we can definitely get more information.
Okay. And I guess my last question is on the schematic map, you have something that says signage. So is that signage the pooper scooper and don't litter signage, or is there something else there in terms of signage?
That would be the, sorry, Ellen, not to cut you off. That would be the, an Alden Street Park sign that's similar to like the other park signs we have across the city. Like they're the wooden signs with the piers on each side. That's what is proposed there, just to identify it as a park.
And so you'll see that split in the sort of the 2 budget expenditures. One is the first for Alden Street Park signage, and then the supplemental for 23 to 25 includes signage in English and Spanish for both no trash and no pet waste.
And I'm happy to provide images of other park signs. I believe we did one at Angelina Park recently, Sergeant Sullivan Park, things like that. So we can send those to you if that'd be helpful.
Sure. So, all right. So
I do see some other hands. I'm sorry. Anyone else?
Oh, Rhonda, you have your hand up. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Ellen, I live near Alden Street, and I'm not, where exactly is this park is? Because I've never seen it visible.
It's the sort of small, okay, you know where the arch is?
Yes.
There's a sidewalk that doesn't connect between there at Springfield College and where that intersection is. And so it's that little jetty there where people fish and go in. And so we want to connect the paths and almost do like a loop inside of that little area and do some.
So that is actually designated, not to interrupt you, but that is, I know now when you said where you see people fishing. So that's actually designated as a park?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are absolutely right. She is absolutely right. I live right next to the college. There is no signage. I never knew it was a park.
Mhm.
And I've
And a
lived
lot of
out
people
here.
fish there.
No, I see people fishing there as soon as the weather get nice all the time. So thank you for clarifying that for me, but she's absolutely right. There is nothing there. There's no signage, but people do use that park quite frequently once the weather breaks.
I like to kayak there. Come with me, Rhonda.
And part of the plan too is to make sure that it's accessible for people of all abilities to use, to have some water-based recreation. Right now, the site doesn't have any. It's just open land and trees and water, which is great. But hopefully through the help of this proposal, we'll be able to make it accessible to people of all abilities with the walking path, but also the access to the fishing, to a dedicated fishing pier.
But
We know
let me ask this, where are you planning to put that walking path? Because I visually know where you're talking now.
Let me connect it again. Maybe if this will be useful
Yep.
to share my screen one more time. So this is the archway to Northumberland. I think the Springfield College Arch is right here.
it's a little
This-
further
Yes, it
back.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the sidewalk that doesn't connect the intersection here at
Right.
Roosevelt. And so
Right.
this is where we would just do a loop inside here, a pier. And there's
Okay.
a couple benches, but they're really
Okay.
kind of janky. And so benches, pier, picnic tables.
And where are you planning to put the dock?
I think we've got the fishing dock right here, sort of down and in.
Yep, and that's right now,
Okay.
again, it's conceptual. When you get into the design, we'll find the exact location for it, but we wanted to put everything we think the grant could support in this round into one image.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that because I just was like, where is this at? But thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it is needed.
Okay, and Yolanda, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I think you guys answered my question about the rafting, canoeing, that's allowed, right? In the water still. Is there going to be anything for like park, bike rails or anything like that that allows when they're going fishing? And I know I see a lot of fishers. My son used to go over there and fish, but the bikes are just basically thrown or anything like that. Is that something that you guys are going to consider?
Great idea. No, my
And,
budget just increased,
and
y'all. Sorry.
sorry. Sorry, I wanted to know if that was something that's going to, be there. And is that the only park in that area? Because I know when you go all the way back around, does that
Let me go one
basketball
year at a
park-
time. I'm gonna take the city on one
Okay.
side at a time. Let me do this,
All right,
and then
so
I'm going because there's another one by my house.
Okay, so that we're just focusing on that one particular park for
Yes,
now.
small bites at a time. I think for this, and maybe in the next 5 years, next decade is my. Y'all will be seeing me a lot for this little lake.
Great, great. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So, great. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for your advocacy. I do want to, though, say this to you. Clearly, your phase one is CPA eligible. I'm not convinced with whether all of the elements that are in your phase two and phase three are CPA eligible. Good ideas, but as we've been told by the statewide coalition, not every good idea is CPA eligible. So I'm happy to chat as we get to that point, but this year you've got a CPA eligible project. All right.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate that.
Okie dokie. So moving on, next is the bike skate park study. And I think, is it the park department's going to be talking on that?
I thought Yolanda was gonna share some thoughts as well, and then I can definitely hopefully answer some questions or fill in other information.
Yeah, because Betsy couldn't be there, but I don't have the ability to share the screen. If you have it up in front of you, Laura, if you could share it.
Yep, I can see. I think she sent me a copy of the application, so I can pull that up. Yep. It may take me just a moment.
That's fine. So while she's taking that moment, so the piece that's going to come in, I'm going to bring go back to Betsy's. She wanted to make sure that I say this. So she wants to make sure that where did she put it at? I'm sorry. She had sent it to me this morning. So this is, so we're going to over to the Bill Gordon's Park. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have it at the Boys and Girls Club, but now we're over at the Gordon Bills Park. At the Gordon Bills Park, we need unfortunately another for them to come out and assess the park again. And they did draw up another sort of project to fit that particular area. The only thing that's on the picture that needs to be changed, if Laura and them haven't changed it yet, is the parking lot area needs to go on to the other side.
Sorry, Yolanda,
So-
can I interrupt real quick? So
Yeah, go ahead.
the application, the way that I understand it for this request for the bike and skate park is not specific to Gordon Bill Park. That's a separate project. That's already underway. The city has applied for a grant for that, and we are waiting to hear if we are successful in that application. My understanding is the application this year for Walk Bike Springfield is through the course of the previous studies and conversations and public meetings about the bike park, is that there was a request and a need for doing smaller parks within different neighborhoods, so that it wasn't just one
particular
site.
one, right?
Although the
It was
city,
4.
yeah, it's to
right?
the purpose of this particular study is to look citywide at not only park owned parcels, but potentially if there's potential school land that could be dedicated as a bike and skate park, if there's private owned parcels that could be converted into a skate park as well in the different neighborhoods. But also looking at the possibility of a larger regional park at a site if there's one to be found. So that's my understanding of the purpose of this application.
And Betsy did email all the neighborhood councils and civic associations that would have parks in their particular area to send a proposal where to help identify which 4 parks are that we would like to look at. And yeah.
So not just parks, the original study focused on parks, and this subsequent study would be to look at kind of all open space in the city and what would be able to handle a bike and skate park. Should additional ones be desired in other neighborhoods, which seemed to be the feedback we were getting, so.
Correct.
Yep. Everybody, they're very popular, and one is going to be great should we be successful in that application. But hearing from the bike and skate communities that if possible to have some that are in some of the other neighborhoods, so they're more accessible to people, would be a great addition to the park system.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions, and probably Laura, you may be in a better position to answer this. In terms of looking at school and conservation land, have both the school department and the conservation commission been, apprised of this, and are they sort of on board?
Bob, I would have to double check with Betsy on that. She was spearheading the outreach. But what has happened in the past for the relationship with the park department and the school department is because a lot of in order to be eligible for state and federal park grants, it has to be park land. There are specific grants for conservation land, but in order to have a recreation park, it has to be park land. And then what has happened in the past is there's been open space adjacent to a school that the city, both departments have agreed to a land transfer to develop that as a park instead of school land. So it would be similar to that process. And I'm happy to follow up with Pat tomorrow and make sure that the superintendent is aware of that and follow up with any support letters we're not yet knowing if any of the parks would be near wetlands or in conservation land, but I will follow up with Betsy to make sure that the Conservation Commission is at least aware of the idea.
She did tell
Okay.
me that they are aware of the ideas, and we had spoken and she said that they were, so. But we could follow up with her again tomorrow.
So, Laura, if you can just give us an update. When we recommended and City Council funded, that was a study of two locations, Greenleaf and a site at the Boys and Girls Club, and now it's going to be built on Gurdon Bill, sort of off of Liberty Street. How did you come to find Gurdon Bill as the, let's call it the alternative site?
Sure. So the original study did focus on, early on focused on Carew Street as a location, because that was kind of what we were hearing was desired. We thought we had an active participant partner with the Boys and Girls Club for that site to be redeveloped. And we kind of moved forward with that location, doing design development, test pit, survey, design. And then it just so happened, it was all happening around the time of the Land and Water Conservation Grant, which I abbreviate as LWCF. So that grant was available and we applied for it as the city to use the land at Sullivan Park and the Carew Street Park and develop that into a community park that supported a bike and skate park and splash pad and a playground, kind of in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. The city was successful in that grant. However, the Boys and Girls Club decided they no longer wanted to be a partner and that the land wasn't available. So we had to do a kind of a quick pivot of where else would this site, where else can a bike park be developed? And when we initiated the study, we had looked at Greenleaf, we had looked at Carew Street, we had looked at Gordon Bill and some other area parks, but the Carew Street site was the clear favorite at that time. So that's why we moved forward with it. So we had originally kind of looked at a few parks, but moved forward with the Carew Street site. Once we had to turn away the grant, we got into conceptual design for the next round of land and water grant funding so that we would be ready to apply for that grant. And then that's where the Gordon Bill conceptual plan came about, and the city applied for the current round of land and water conservation funding. The grant was due in, I believe, January, so we should hear back in September if we're successful for the Gordon Bill site. And if we are, we'll move forward into design and construction.
And,
So when there was when we were at so there was 3 sites that we had picked with 413 Bike Life Kids and Walk Bike Springfield as a board. And at the time it was the South End Citizens Council at the time. So when we all had met, there was 3 main sites, and there was the cement parcel underneath the highway. It was the Boys and Girls Club, and it was Gordon Bill's Park, because it's the closest for all the kids that were living in that particular neighborhood would be able to go to, instead of being able to take all their bikes and ride all the way up to Greenleaf, where majority of them in this fight was for the kids that lived in the inner city. And none of them live all the way up there. So that was the reason for those 3 particular destinations for the bike park.
So I guess I'm trying to understand whether the consultant that was paid for by CPA money a couple years ago was the consultant that ultimately did the work on Gurdon Bill.
Well, the study was implemented by, we went out to bid, and Pillar Design Group was chosen to do the study for the bike and skate park, and then using the our on-call designers with GZA, they helped to fill in some of those gaps between the study and then the engineering for the grant and things of that nature.
Oh,
So
okay.
Should this study move forward, it would be a similar process that we would go out to bid for a design firm to do some site analysis and assessments and things of that nature for this new round of parks.
And if you are successful with the current application that's been submitted, when will you know? And then when would construction on a bike skate park at Gurdon Bill begin?
Oh, sure. If we're successful with Gordon Bell Park, we'll hear in, most likely in September. And then we would go into design development after the contracts are awarded and all of that. So the design work would be over the fall and winter, and construction would start July 1 of 2024 at Gordon Bell.
Mm-hmm. And does that mean it's sort of finished by the end of that construction season, or it's basically a 12-month project?
It would be per the grant requirements, it would have to be completed by the following June 1st, 2025.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
So do any other committee members have questions? Laura, if once again you could take down the screen sharing so I can see everyone.
Sorry, Bob.
No, that's all right. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So we will then move on to the last presenter of the evening, which is the Abbey Brook expansion. And Mike Fenton is here making that presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is an application. I'm presenting tonight, but the co-applicants are the Office of Planning and Economic Development, the Conservation Commission, and the Hungry Hill Neighborhood Council, all of whom have attached support letters that are in your packet. What you see here is just an index of the materials that were submitted in the application. The request is to fund the acquisition of approximately 5.3 acres consisting of 9 separate parcels on Liberty Street, which are the site of the former Liberty Ice and Hogan's Ponds recreational area. This area was previously used for many decades as a public space. Was run and operated by the Hogan family, who owned and operated the Liberty Ice Company on Liberty Street, and in the late 80s was closed, and a great portion of the property, which consists of approximately a total of 75 acres, was gifted to the city for conservation purposes. I will call up some of the materials in the application so you can get a flavor for what we're talking about. This section here highlighted that you can see on your screen shows the 5.4 acres that we're proposing to acquire. It's currently, majority of that property is currently zoned Business A, and there have been a variety of commercial developments proposed over the course of the last few years, including a gas station and a strip mall. Those proposals were opposed by the neighborhood. What you see here on your screen are what I'll call Abbey Brook East and Abbey Brook West, highlighted in yellow. These are very large areas of conservation land owned and controlled by the city of Springfield. You can see over here that one portion of the Abbey Brook Conservation Area abuts the Van Sickle School Complex and the athletic schools in the rear, as well as Springfield Housing Authority development, commonly referred to as Cheyenne Circle, Christopher Court, and all the way. So it runs basically all the way from Van Sickle and the Big Y on St. James, all the way to the Chicopee line over here, and these properties off of Newberry Street. The one portion that breaks and separates these two properties is the red portion that's highlighted on your screen. It's owned and controlled by the O'Connell Oil Company. They acquired the property after the closure of Liberty Ice with the intent of developing it commercially. The majority of those attempts failed due to proximity to residences and the conservation area. So the proposal is requesting funding that goes above and beyond your self-imposed limits of $250,000 to fund this acquisition. We've been in touch with the owner, which is the O'Connell Oil Company, and they have indicated a willingness to entertain a friendly taking for preservation of and conservation purposes. And the reason for the request for the total of $700,000 is we have prepared an inventory of all of the parcels and the assessed values total for this fiscal year, $661,000. So that's the reason that we estimate the acquisition cost to be in that range. And I guess I would just say a few other things. First, this is a newspaper clipping showing the Hogan family donating this tract of land, majority of it to the city. Back in the 1980s, you can see former Mayor Neal here marking the occasion. And we believe in the neighborhood, and the city believes that this is an opportunity to reunite these two major conservation parcels that total over 75 acres. To put that in perspective, it's close to double the size of Hubbard Park in Indian Orchard. To my knowledge, this is the largest conservation area, non-parkland in the city. And by acquiring this parcel here, controlled by the O'Connell Oil Company, we would be creating the largest contiguous conservation area in the city, and doing it in a way that will allow for recreation opportunities for the neighborhood, the children at Van Sickle School, residents of the Springfield Housing Authority. There's also Academy Hill, which is a private school up here off of Liberty Street. And the future potential for what we could do with that conservation area is really limitless. So I acknowledge the request is for a substantial amount. To the extent that the committee wishes to, as a part of its mission, entertain the acquisition of properties for conservation purposes, I submit that the committee should consider making exceptions to that cap in circumstances where there's an opportunity to strategically acquire property. To my knowledge, it would be the first time that the committee funds the acquisition of real estate, which I think would be a terrific thing to do as part of the Community Preservation Act and collaboration with the Conservation Commission. And it also, maybe Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would also be the first funded project in Hungry Hill. So we're very excited about the prospect of this. We're requesting 700 in funding. Again, I'm cognizant that that is over your self-imposed limits. We're open to conversation on this. If there was an ability to get closer to the figure of 500, I'm pretty confident that we could come up with the additional 200,000 from the city and the Conservation Commission, both who have funding sources. Alternatively, if the committee was unwilling to fund it all in 1 year, I suppose we could explore a multi-year funding schedule, but that would be something we need to sort out with the property owner, and I'm not sure what appetite they would have for that. So that's it. And if there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Hey, thank you. Michael, if you could take down the screen sharing now. Thanks. So let me ask a couple questions. You and I had talked about possible, at least the ability to bond. And for CPC members and new members, the state law does allow us to bond. It means that we're then responsible every year for paying for that bond payment. So, Mike, did you have a chance to talk to anyone in the financial division as to what a bond would look like?
I did not. We can explore that if the commission or the committee was willing to entertain that. Some form of structured debt in the form of a bond would be one possibility to get the 700 up front and to pay it over a period of time.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful just so that if we indeed like this project enough to recommend it, it gives us an option as opposed to coming up with 700,000 out of our own money every year. It might mean that we're on the hook for the next 20 years for $50,000 a year, and maybe that might be more palatable. So it would be helpful to know what our options are.
Can definitely explore that.
Okay. So is any other committee members have questions?
Bob, I have a question.
Okay, Gloria?
Michael, is there any chance the city can help support this project?
Yes, I think that, you know, I don't have any authority to speak on that point. I did speak with the chair of the Conservation Commission, and I understand that there's some funding that the commission has that it may be willing to part with to fund this. That I don't have an exact figure for what they would be willing to do because it's hard to say. We need someone to make the first move, so to speak, in terms of funding, and then piece the rest of it together from there. I think that, you know, if you were to ask me candidly what I think we could get from the Concom, I think 100,000 is probably in the range of what we could expect. I think that if this committee came up with $500,000 this year without bonding, and the Conservation Commission came up with 6, I feel pretty confident that we could get the city to make up the difference. So if you were so inclined to make a conditional award of 500 on the condition that we get the remaining 200 from the Concom and the city, I would be thrilled with that, and I think we could do it.
Okay, that's pretty palatable, especially since the mayor came out with a statement about money available for improvements to some additional parks. We would hope that there might be money for this. I'm done.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. The only other thing, Mike, and I can't find it now in the application, but when I was reading it earlier, I think there was something that was alluded to that in the future there might be requests for some maintenance work at that area. And just so you know, we can help rehabilitate a conservation area, but we can't do maintenance. So that's never a CPA activity.
That's not our intent, and there is no intent from the applicants to convert this into a public park with amenities. It is and has been a conservation area, and the intent would be to maintain it that way. If I did make mention of the word maintenance in the application, it would have been just that in the future, I could imagine a circumstance where we ask for city assistance with cleaning up the street front on Liberty Street, just in terms of invasive species and things like that, but not ongoing maintenance, and that we're not requesting CPC funding for that.
Yep. Oh, okay, all right. I think I saw Rhonda's hand's gone down. Karen's hand is, or is that Judy's? It's Karen, I think. Is your hand up, Karen? No. Well, interesting. From my view, there is a hand up, and it's in front of you, but it used to be in front of Rhonda, and Rhonda's now shifted on my screen. So I don't understand technology. All right. And Mike, just so you understand, our timetable usually is as we get recommendations to City Council in the fall. So as long as that sort of works for you and the owners.
Yeah, I've been in touch with the broker for the owner and the owner directly, member of the O'Connell family. And, the reality is that they've been trying to market it and develop it for a few decades. Their prior attempts have been met with resistance from the neighbors in the city. And so I was thrilled that they're interested in a friendly taking. I don't think that we have years of a window to get this done here. I think we do need, if we're going to do it, I think we need to get it done this year. But the difference between now and fall, I don't think that time is so much of the essence that's gonna be a problem.
Okay. Fine.
The property remains for sale. So they would prefer to get more money for it from somebody who would do a commercial development. So that's the reason that it's time sensitive.
All right. So I guess if that's no other questions from committee members, that concludes our interviews with applicants tonight. Thank you so much, Mike. And, I would point out that Michael Fenton, when he was president of the city council, is the one who said we're going to have a study of CPA and then said we're going to put it on the ballot. So kudos to Mike, because that's part of the reason why we have CPA in Springfield.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you all for doing the good work that you're doing. You got some tough choices. Thank you.
All righty. Have a good evening. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Good evening, Zeta.
Good evening.
So the next thing is just to talk about the 2023 process. So we have 8 applicants coming at our special meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And then we have the final 8 coming at our regularly scheduled first Tuesday in May. I will send out to you as soon as Karen lets me know she's confirmed that the people I've told her to put on the agenda can make it. I will let you know so you know which 8 applications to be reviewing before April 18th. You don't have to review all the remaining ones, just the ones that are coming before us. And Karen, have you heard from them yet? Anyone?
I have not sent that notice out yet.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what we normally do then is that we move forward with, after meeting with everyone, at the subsequent meeting, folks come with their top 8 projects, which we put up on a spreadsheet. It just gives us an idea of what people are thinking. And for the last 5 years, the same thing has happened, and I'm sure it will happen again this time. There are a few projects that appear on many members' top 8, and there are a few projects that appear on no one's top 8, and then there's a whole bunch of projects that one person likes or two people have on their list. And we spend that meeting then discussing all of the projects from top to bottom. It will be a lengthy meeting. Folks then think about it, and at the very next meeting, we actually start voting on projects. Folks have a chance to change their order, in which case we refigure the spreadsheet, and then we start voting starting with the folks that had the projects that were higher on the list and work our way down until we either don't have projects we like, or what more usually happens, we run out of money to recommend. We have about 2,300,000, more or less, that we can recommend. We will have a final figure from the finance folks as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year. And so what we've done in the past is the June meeting is the discussion meeting where we rank, and then July and August are the actual voting meetings. We finish, if necessary, voting in September and send the packet on to City Council in September. I just want to throw by a possible alternative this year, whether people may be interested in it, is if we have a mid-May meeting and a mid-June meeting, we might not have to have an August meeting, and whether people are interested in taking a month off or whether they're comfortable with doing it as we've done it in the past. So anyone have thoughts?
I would be agreeable to a mid-May and mid-June meeting.
Okay by me.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to be away mid-June this year.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, we don't have to make the decision tonight. Maybe what Karen can do is send out a doodle poll if we were to have a mid-May meeting. Judy, are you gone for just one specific week, or are you gone for half the month?
I'll be gone. I'll tell you right now. The 9th to the 16th.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe, like I said, Karen can perhaps send out a doodle poll, and we'll see whether something else is available. If not, we'll simply adhere to what we've done in the past, which is meet once a month throughout the summer and finish our work in either August or September. Given that City Council doesn't take up non-public hearing items in August, it just complicates whether, even if we were to finish by August, they wouldn't hear it until September, in which case there's no necessity of doing that. All right. Karen, do you have any administrative updates for us?
Right, I was muted. Try that again. Just on the historic homes, we have 2 or 3 homeowners who are ready to go to the Springfield Historic Commission meeting, actually on Thursday. So they're moving along. All of the new lottery winners, except for 2, their homes have been the site visit for each of those homes. The last 2 or last 4, I think, will be done in 2 weeks from now. So they're going to be all set. And that's it. Just a quick update. Moving along there in the program. So that's it.
Okie
Unless
dokie.
anyone has any questions about anything.
No, but just remind me of the projects that were approved last September by the City Council. Are we under contract with all of them other than Parsons Apartment House?
No. Where's the one on Main Street? That property still hasn't been.
Correct, but that wasn't last year. So of last year's projects.
The Davenport, the
Yes,
Maple Street.
correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Okay. All
But
right.
yeah, that's it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So I guess unless we have any other questions, we'll have a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Bob, do we
and
have
we'll see.
to accept minutes?
Say that again, please.
Do we have to accept minutes?
Oh, thank you for reminding me of that, Gloria. Yes, so the minutes were sent out. If we could have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
So Gloria's moving it. I see Judy nodding her head. Is that seconding it? All right.
Yeah.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay. So with that, I guess we'll also have a motion to adjourn. Someone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All righty. Thanks so much. We'll see. Well, everyone in favor wave their hand, and then, all right. Very good. We'll see
Good night.
everyone in 2 weeks. Happy Easter.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night and a good week.